Okay, our second video, when we're looking at supply decisions, we actually begin to look at costs. The types of costs that business might face. And remember the distinction we covered on the last video between the fixed and the variable inputs, and the long and the short run. And the long where there's variables and easy to change, and the short run where there's one fixed and it's slow to change. If we're to consider the law of diminishing or marginal returns, if we consider a farm, and perhaps one person working on the farm, means that the production can be relatively small. The land on a farm is a fixed input. You can't buy more or expand the farm quickly. But the labour is a variable input, and each worker increases production, and this is the marginal return, the increase in the production. Now the amount by which an additional worker increases production is smaller each time, so the size of the marginal return is diminishing. So to give you an example, if we double the workforce from 1 to 2, there's going to be quite a sizable increase on the work in the farm. We may see double or perhaps more than double, as 2 are able to do a lot more than 1. If we increase from 2 to 3, the amount of production increases more, but it won't double. It similarly goes up. And equally if you add a 4th or 5th, etc., so the production levels increase with additional workers, to actually get to this point when they can actually be of no more help. When we actually reach that point, we see the marginal return or size of increase in production from the new worker reducing and reducing each time. So the first time is a very large increase, the second time still large but smaller, and to the point where new staff do not actually increase the production at all. And then we actually need to increase the fixed inputs. Perhaps we need the farm to be bigger, so the workforce can produce more. And it's an important concept, this law of diminishing marginal returns, and it plays a key role. If we consider alternative costs, so opportunity costs, and we've previously discussed this before, the cost of an activity described by sacrificing in order to make that choice. It could be by money, but might be alternative goods or services, things we may spend time manufacturing or taking advantage of, but we can't, because we're making use of our time another way. So, if the inputs are not owned by the company, then the costs are explicit. So we need to spend money to buy materials from somewhere else who owns them. So we need to hire people for their labour. These are explicit goods, and we have to have real money to actually spend out. If the inputs are owned by the company, then the costs are implicit. So implicit, owned by the company, and the opportunity costs are the implicit costs, i.e. the other things that we spend our money on. Some opportunity cost examples. Dave is asked to stop working on a new marketing plan and to lead a new social media team. Now there's an implicit opportunity cost. It's implicit as Dave already works for the organisation, but there's an opportunity cost as he has to stop working on something else to do this work. So the opportunity cost is a new marketing plan he won't be able to do as he's leaving for the new social media team. Another example. A firm draws out $50,000 to spend on a new machine. It's an explicit cost, it's real £50,000, and an implicit cost because of things like the interest or the alternative uses. So we really need to be clear on our terminology. If we think about the short run costs, and there's two types of these. So the cost for fixed inputs which will not vary according to the level of production, fixed costs, land rental, loan repayments for new machinery, and the fixed costs do not vary with production. Remember, the short run is defined as a period of time when at least one of our costs or inputs is fixed and can't be changed. So if the size of the input is fixed, the cost of the input is also fixed, and it could be something like land rental, loan payments or machinery. They don't vary according to production, so it doesn't matter how much we get out of the land, as the cost of the rent is still the same, not able to change the size of the land we're renting or the loan repayments. Then if we were to consider the variable costs, the costs for variable inputs will vary according to the level of production, the labour cost, the material costs, and these variable costs can actually change. If we then think about the total costs, so we can start thinking about some of these costs and how it relates to a business. So the total cost is all the fixed costs, i.e. things which aren't changing in the short run and not affected by the level of production, and the total variable costs, or the cost of variables which can change the production. So an example, if we make 5,000 boxes of biscuits with a fixed cost of £10,000, then the variable cost of £2 per box equals the total cost is 10,000 plus 5,000 multiplied by 2, which is the variable cost, equals 10,000 plus the 10,000 equals 20,000. Fixed cost 10,000, choosing here to make 5,000 boxes, so fixed and variable costs come to 20,000. If we to consider the average cost, we need to be able to look at the average cost being the cost of the unit, so the total cost divided by the quantity. So the previous example had a variable cost of £2 per box. It's easy just to say the cost is £2 for variable cost, but it doesn't actually take account of the fixed cost. So total cost is £20,000 for 5,000 boxes. Then you would say that the average cost is the total cost delta of 20,000 divided by the 5,000 equals £4 a box, and that's the average cost.